Snackers and Snackettes. It's your boy Gage. This is Snacking and Hanging. It's the Loading Snacks Podcast. This is episode 53. We're in there. 53 episodes is 1 week past a year's worth of episodes, gentlemen, and I think that deserves a little congratulations. So congratulate yourselves for having a full year's worth of podcasts. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That means you can go back and listen to us once a week for an entire year, and that is a beautiful thing. What we want to talk about today, gentlemen, is there was an article that came out in Kotaku about GameStop and their employees having some regulations put on them that actually seem to cause them to lie to customers. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Then we'll take a break and we're going to talk about this new Ghost Recon Wildlands closed beta, as well as a little bit about the Injustice beta that's currently going on. And so without any further ado, Sin is one of the usual suspects, as well as NuJoker, and Sin's not feeling well, so he's going to join us for part of this.
I'm going to fight through as much as I can.
You can do it.
My man, you know what I mean? That's just, that's we appreciate you, sir. So we're going to knock out this first part first. And part of the reason why I wanted to make sure that Sin was here for this is because Sin used to work at GameStop part-time. And so he might have a little insight that, say, NuJoker and I don't have into some of this. So what I want to do now is I kind of want to explain what the situation is. So essentially there was an article that came out in Kotaku that was about how there's like a full Reddit for GameStop where GameStop employees are going and complaining, and he's got some people who came on record. Of course, they want to remain anonymous so they don't get in trouble and those kinds of things. But essentially, GameStop has a program that they call the Circle of Life. Now, my understanding is Circle of Life is not a new thing for GameStop, but they have kind of redone the Circle of Life. And basically, according to the article, what happens is GameStop stores themselves, as well as individual employees in GameStop, have percentage goals that they're supposed to hit based on 4 criteria. Those criteria are pre-orders, reward card subscriptions, used game sales, and game trade-ins. So basically what happens is really any retailer, all retailers have something like this where they kind of track certain things and want you to hit certain percentages. At Best Buy, it might be a certain percentage of items you sell should have a Geek Squad protection plan or something like that on it. This is not a completely uncommon thing. So I do want to say that and get that out in front. However, basically what happens is they are saying that there are employees who are kind of forced into a situation where they lie to you. So you walk into a GameStop looking for that new game that just came out. You want to buy it brand new. You're willing to spend a full $60, okay? And an employee is likely to tell you, we don't have any, even though they have plenty of them in the back, because if they sell you a new game and new game sales are not part of, because new game sales are not part of their percentages, and because these percentages come from the total sales, if they sell you a new game and you don't either pre-order a game or trade in a game or buy it used, you hurt their other percentages. So what is happening is people are walking in, and I'll give you just an example and then we'll kind of talk about this. One example that was given was a couple of weeks ago with a new game release. We won't get into what game it was, but they did like a midnight release. There was a couple of games that came out, and of course they had people that were coming in at midnight to pick up the games. Now, of course, you have the people who pre-ordered it, who were there for the midnight release, but then you also have people who are just walking in off the street. Now, they have plenty of games for everyone, but they are telling people who are just walking in, this is for people who pre-ordered only, which I will tell you, I have been told before. I have heard that before. I don't go to GameStop very often, but I've been told that before. This is only for people who pre-ordered it. You can't get one if you haven't pre-ordered it, okay? And they're doing that specifically because now they're in a position where people are coming in to fulfill pre-orders that they did, right? Which, again, it's kind of a catch-22 because you have to sell pre-orders. That's part of your percentages. But then when a customer comes in to fulfill a pre-order and pick up that game, well, now you've sold a new game, and the number of games that you've sold have hit percentages. So there are people on, say, the Reddit who are going, see, now we did this midnight release Tuesday. I sold all these copies of these new games, and now I got to sell a ton of used games or get a ton of pre-orders in order to not get in trouble or possibly get fired for this week. And so that's kind of what we're seeing. We're seeing people being turned away who are willing to come in and spend their money because of the way that this new Circle of Life thing has been reiterated. So, first and foremost, gentlemen, what do we think about this?
I believe it, 100%.
I
mean,
believe
it
it for
sucks.
sure.
Yeah, it sucks. And I think it's a terrible practice, honestly. Like they do, like when I was there, they didn't have this Circle of Life program, but they did put the full court press on all those things you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like flat out said like you're gonna lose your job if you don't
Yeah.
sell more subscriptions. But you know that's kind of like where it was leaning to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's a horrible practice. I think it's an absolutely horrible practice.
Yeah. A NuJoker, you were telling me that you just recently, I guess, were told that there was something that wasn't in stock. It was a new game you went in to get or something like that.
This has been a little while now, so this may have been before this particular iteration of the program. But like I've been in
Mm-hmm.
GameStop a couple of times and go to buy a new game and they tell me they didn't have it in stock. Now, granted, they may not have been the like your main flagship title like a Call of Duty or a Madden or something like that, but I would come
Yeah.
in, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, relatively early because, I want to try to avoid the fact of the game not being in stock. And I'll come in at like
Right.
10:30 a.m. and it's like, oh no, we're completely out of them. And, a part of me is
Right.
like, you know what? I kind of understand it because maybe it wasn't the most popular of game titles, but now with this and the way it's happening, it kind of makes me rethink, really, were they telling me they
Yeah.
were out of it because they legitimately were out of it or because of the fact they were trying to save face? Because, like,
Well, I would say with that, depending
naturally,
on the
that's what,
title, uh, yeah, like they look at the pre-orders and that's how they
how much they
figure
come
how
in. Yeah,
much of them
absolutely
like,
understand that.
yeah, it
But,
gets sent to the store, right? So if it's something like Halo 5, come on now, we got a bunch of them things
right,
in the
right.
back. Let's
And
be
I mean,
real.
and the
You know what
thing
I
to
mean?
Right.
think
It's
about though is coming from like a consumer perspective, now me, I've worked in retail, so I understand what it looks like when, when something's popular, those pre-orders, what it looks like when it comes time for ordering and shipping them to certain stores. But now still from a
Correct.
consumer standpoint, you kind of have to say, wow, really? So maybe they really truly weren't out of it when I went and asked for it. And of course, I'll never know, but just because of the way this has kind of presented itself, you kind of have to ask that question now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. So I'm not. Am I surprised at this? Not really. Not at all. I understand uh as a business that GameStop makes the majority of their money from accessories and from used game sales. Pre the thing about pre-orders is pre-orders guarantees you sales generally, right? Most people are not going to pre-order and not come get their game. And so it says to me that GameStop is banking on their ability. If you're a person who regularly pre-orders for something that you want because you want to make sure you're going to have it, or even the act of walking in and having not pre-ordered and even though they have them and having somebody lie to you and tell you, well, we don't have any, we only have enough for the pre-orders. The next time you'll pre-order, right? Maybe you'll do a pre-order because you want to prevent that from happening. Now you got to run around going from store to store or go somewhere else or try to find it somewhere else, and you don't want to worry about that. So maybe next time you'll pre-order it. And then you develop this habit of pre-ordering all the time. And that means that when you walk in to pick up that new game, maybe just maybe they can convert your new game pickup into also getting a pre-order. You see what I'm saying? However, what I find really interesting about this, I mean, I don't know exactly how long this practice has been in play, okay? What I do know is that we have had discussions amongst ourselves about how physical game sales have begun to drop off. And again, I understand that GameStop makes the majority of their money from used sales. There's actually an example in this article where a new game, which is normally $60, was on sale for $29.99. Okay? However, they have used copies that are on the floor for $54.99. So you would save $6. They are telling customers they don't have any of the game, but they do have used copies. But you can't get the used copy at the sale price because it's open. And so in order to prevent them from losing money by selling you a new copy at a lower price, they would rather sell you, obviously, the used copy at the higher price, because that is literally all margin for them. They're not paying anything back to the publisher, which is why the publishers, and game developers have issues with GameStop and those practices, because they don't see anything from those used game sales. But I find it interesting that we have seen a spike in digital sales. EA reported last week at their third quarter call that digital sales made up 50% of their total sales for the quarter. Okay, now that's not the first time they've said that, but digital sales made up 50%, actually a little bit more than that. Like, it was closer to 60% of their total sales.
Okay.
Now, some of that could be because somebody walks into a GameStop, wants to buy a title that's new, and somebody at GameStop tells them, we don't have any. Only if you pre-ordered it, but you can get this used one, right? Because you got to figure, the other thing about it is, you look at titles that normally sell like hotcakes, and you see that the Call of Duty last year didn't sell anywhere near as much as it normally does, which has been slightly a trend, but it was way off. You know what I mean? Even though it sold tons of copies, didn't sell anywhere near like it normally does based on like NPD, right? And you saw the same thing with other new titles that came out. Titanfall was that way. Battlefield was that way. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Now you have this huge number of games that come out at the holiday, and you see all these titles, and it's like, well, we don't know if we're going to get another one of these because it doesn't seem like it sold well. Watch Dogs 2, that kind of stuff. Could that be happening because people are walking into a store and they're telling them we don't have it? Think about how often those new titles are on sale when it's Black Friday, stuff like that, those half-off sales, all that kind of stuff. And you walk into a store and they're like, oh, we're out. We don't have any. Which you might not think is unexpected because, oh, it's half price. I'm just late. You know what I'm saying? But maybe part of the reason why these companies are seeing those numbers drop off, and also part of the reason why we're seeing the digital numbers go up, is because, well, I can't walk into the store and get it, and even though I'd rather have a physical copy, it's right here on my system right now. I can just buy it. You know what I mean? No, I can't trade it in later, but I guess what difference does it make if I wanted to trade it in if I walk into the store and they never have any anyway? I can't trade it in for what? You know what I mean? Unless I put a trade in on a pre-order to guarantee me a copy. So they could be, when you look at the full picture, hurting themselves, because digital sales, as they are going up, seem to be the thing that GameStop is running from, right? As long as digital sales keep going, we're going to have an issue here. Now, they'll make money on, maybe on controllers and, there's toys and stuff like that in a GameStop. But do you guys think that maybe they're actually helping digital sales and hurting physical sales themselves by doing this? Does that make sense to y'all?
Makes perfect sense.
It does make sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Right now that I think about it.
Because if I can walk in and they tell me, no, it's not here. All right, well, I wasted gas, but whatever. I'm going to go home and download it. And,
right.
It is what it is. And like you said before, like, even if I did bring it back to trade it in, you're going to give me like $3 for it. Like,
right.
So I might as well just go home and download it.
Yeah, you're also not giving me anything. Like, if I trade it in and you give me $15 and then it's on the shelf within 6 minutes for $54 and it's on sale this week for $30, but you won't sell them for $30 because
Yeah,
you
it
have
could be the
used copies
same
you want
day
to.
something comes out.
You know what I'm saying? Like it all seems
Mm-hmm.
really, really backwards. Doesn't that mean like when you all right? Well, I guess I'll just take this and I'll trade it in, and I'll get a digital code or a digital card, and I'll just come back and I'll put that card on my. You know what I mean? Because I'm still technically saving money, right? If I trade in an old game, if I have a physical copy and I trade it into the GameStop and I get a PSN card, you know what I mean? Now I come and it was a $50 card that I got for $30 because they gave me $20 for my game. You know what I'm saying? And now I
Right.
just use that and put that towards the game and I'll buy it digitally. Now I'm starting to get used to getting digital. Now I'm starting to get used to like liking the idea of not having to rummage through stuff and find the disc and whatever. It's just there. You know what I mean? I can just
And you
jump in
still
and
get
play it when
pre-order,
I
and you
feel
still
like
get
it.
pre-order incentives for doing it digitally too.
Right. And you yeah. And again, the downside of digital pre-orders being what we've discussed before, once you do it, that's it. You can't, it's not like going to GameStop and putting $5 down. You got to pay the whole thing and you can't get a refund.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Steam is making changes to that, which could, affect the way that Microsoft and Sony do it, maybe the way Nintendo does it, in the future. But, it just seems to me that the practice they have is actually hurting them. It might seem like it's doing the right thing now, but again, as those digital sales increase, you have to figure. I think one of the big questions that people have right now, and one of the reasons why people do still do physical instead of digital, is because the pricing is the same.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we talked about
So
this before too. Yeah.
yeah, if it's going to cost you the same thing to buy digitally as it does to go to the store, but at least if you go to the store, you can trade it in. Even if they don't give you much, you get something for it. If you've decided I'm not playing it anyway, it's just sitting here. But the flip side of that is, why even go to GameStop when you could sell it on eBay? You could sell it on Craigslist and get way more than they're going to give you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah.
And use that towards anything. Buy it on Amazon. I mean, if you buy a new game on Amazon and you have Amazon Prime, you save 20%. If you're in the Best Buy Gamer Club and you walk in the store and you buy a new game for like the first 2 weeks, you save 20%. So a $60 game becomes like a $45 game or something along those lines. So you can save money on a brand new game, and GameStop doesn't have anything like that. Like they have a membership club. The only thing that membership club does is get you a discount on used games. It doesn't get you a discount on a new game.
Use peripherals and games, yeah.
So, for a lot of people, I think it's still going to cost me the same thing whether I get physical or digital, and at least I can trade in my physical one or sell it. You know what I mean? If I want to later, and I understand that. But I think the only reason why we haven't seen digital titles come down in price compared to their physical counterparts is because right now, the manufacturers, be they publishers, the manufacturers, the publishers, the developers, right now have a relationship built at retail that they feel like they still need. Because people want to give an actual gift. So they want to go to a store and buy something they can wrap, maybe, or, whatever. But as digital sales increase and continue to be the way people go as opposed to physical, eventually digital will come down when the publishers stop fearing that GameStop will say, well, we're not going to carry your game. And there will be millions of people who don't get your game because we're not going to carry it. But then when the publishers read something like this and they find out, well, you're not selling my games anyway. Look at what happened to my game sales over the holiday. Is this the reason why my game sales were like they were? Because your people won't sell them because you're telling them not to? You know what I mean? Because they're going to get in trouble and get fired if they don't. You know what I mean? And if you're going to lose people and you're not going to have people to sell games anyway, you know what I mean? So to me, like, that will drive down the price of digital games. Right?
Hopefully, eventually, yeah.
I mean, it seems to be the case on Steam, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think. I don't go to GameStop. It's extremely rare that I walk in a GameStop. I might go in a GameStop if I'm looking for an old game I don't have anymore and I'm trying to get a used copy of it. I might go in a GameStop.
Yeah, once in a blue moon, that's when I go in.
That's it. I don't go in there for anything else. We've already decided we're going all digital. I mean, at least you and I did, Sin, and I know that you kind of got there a little later, NuJoker, but you know, I don't need GameStop at all. I mean, there has to be a place, I guess, to go and get like the actual game systems when they come out.
That doesn't even matter as much
But
as being GameStop.
right, but you can
Yeah,
get that
you
in
got
so
Best
many
Buy, you got
places now.
Amazon, and yeah, so many places online now.
Best Buy, Amazon, Target,
I'm kind of
Walmart.
surprised you
Like
Mm-hmm.
there
can't
are
walk
tons
in
of
like a
places.
7-Eleven
Toys
just
R
yet
Us.
and buy a console. Like, you can get the Xbox Live cards, you can get the network PlayStation Network cards. I'm surprised they don't even have the
Yeah,
consoles in there yet.
I mean, it's probably just they don't have
True
the
that.
space for them. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be worth it. With something like that, they couldn't buy enough of them and to be able to stock enough of
Oh
them
no,
safely because they're
absolutely.
open
Hmm.
24 hours and all that. I mean, the kind of stuff that
No,
happens at a
absolutely.
7-Eleven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the only reason why
But
they don't.
if they weren't,
I
I
guarantee
guarantee
you, if
you
they
they would
thought,
have a couple in there. Just random spur of the moment. Somebody comes in there.
mm-hmm,
You know what? You guys got an Xbox? Let me get that right quick.
yep, yep. I mean, it certainly could happen. Um, I mean, I guess my point is that GameStop is not necessary. So I will be honest, I couldn't figure out whether or not there was any honesty to this article, but supposedly in response to the article, to this Kotaku article, there was another article that said that now GameStop is saying that they are requiring their employees to ask customers when they come in why they still stop at GameStop when there are all these other places they could go. Like, why is GameStop still in business? Why do they make so much money on used games and trade-ins and things like that, and toys,
Hmm.
when people could go almost anywhere and get that stuff. And maybe it's because not enough people know about Newegg, and that almost anything you can get at one of those stores you can get at Newegg. Newegg owns GameStop, or vice versa. GameStop bought Newegg, right? So it's not like GameStop would be completely out of business if they shut stores down and didn't have that front. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you guys? I think that's the next question: is what do you think is the thing that's still driving people into GameStop stores?
Pro-
I think personally that people don't want to wait for the mailman to drop off their game. As far as new games are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like my mailman comes at 5,
Mm.
so if he's bringing it instead of like UPS, and UPS comes around the same time too, something like that. So if I can wait till 5 to get online, where I can just walk into a GameStop right around the corner and pick it up, that'd be one reason why. And other than that, I think it's like we said, like going and picking up like a used game.
Right.
Like you're short on funds, you want something new to play. You go and pick up something real cheap for like $10. Go home and play it. But I think that's it.
I mean, you might be right. What do you think, Jokes?
my only thing is probably one or two things. One is just loyalty, because you've had certain people that have gone to GameStop since the beginning, and they kind of just don't know what else to do because they've been doing it for so long. I mean, granted, digital is easy, it's simple, it's right there for you. Like, and then also maybe some people just like still getting the subscription to the magazine. I mean, you go in, you sign up for the power card, and granted, you can get a digital version of the magazine if you want. But at this time of day, it's
Right.
like the internet. You can literally get on and find everything that's inside of Game Informer. But I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah. I mean, I don't read the book. I listen to their
same thing.
podcast.
But I mean, loyalty is probably the one and only thing, because there's nothing other, maybe like a few exclusive, like a Funko Pop or something like that. But there's just nothing major anymore that's just driving you to go to GameStop. Or like, say, some of the Pokemon events. Like, say if you want to get that free Pokemon, you go into a GameStop, you link up to their Wi-Fi, boom, there you go. But I do that, but you know what I do? I go pull right in front of GameStop, do it, and drive off. I don't even set foot in this.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in terms of that, I mean, obviously there has to be some level of loyalty, right? Because it's, for whatever reason, something's working, right? But I guess the question is, what does it take to make someone, what is it that a company has to do that's so bad that makes a person stop being loyal? You know what I mean? I guess, I'll, if I'm a person who goes into GameStop all the time, then maybe I am a person who always pre-orders. You know what I mean? Like I've always been a person. I have always been a person that pre-orders. Like that's not. Ever since pre-orders were a thing, I've been a person that pre-ordered. Right when they started giving video games a date, it's coming out this day. You can pre-order it. When it comes out, when we get it in stock, we'll call you. You can come in and you can get it. Okay, cool. I only have to put $5 down. Okay, cool. Right? Because I don't have to give you the whole thing. I can always get my money back on the pre-order if I want to. A lot of times I would take a pre-order. If I decided I didn't want the game, I'd just take that pre-order and put it on something else or put it towards a different game. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like you can almost use pre-orders like a little GameStop bank. You know what I mean? Like you just, all right, well, I don't need that. Let's just move it over. I'll use it on this. And here's another $5. Put that on it. You know, whatever. But, and so, yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a person who's loyal like that, then you're not one of those people who ever has the issue where you walk into the store, try to buy something, and you don't have a copy because you always pre-order, right? And maybe that is the thing, you know what I mean, that keeps people being loyal. But at some point you have to figure the rest of the people who aren't those people, who are just people who walk in or are trying to find it, the mom and the dad who don't often do this, don't often buy a game. You know, they buy a couple games a year. It's a birthday. It's a holiday. It's, you know what I mean? Something like they got a good report card. So maybe 3 or 4 times a year is the only time I walk in, you know, to a store like this to try to get, you know, what I'm looking for. And a lot of times I feel like a person like that might be a little more susceptible to, well, why don't you pre-order this? Or why don't you get an extra controller? Or how about a strategy guide? Or how, you know what I mean? Like, here's a little something extra that Johnny's going to need because you don't understand what you're buying. So let me kind of, you know what I'm saying? And that's not, I'm not saying that they're always being preyed upon. Sometimes they are really helpful. Sometimes they are good things, you know, whatever. But I guess I just have to wonder what it is that what would it take to make a person who's currently loyal to a place like GameStop to make them stop being loyal to them. See, I think with something like GameStop, because they're niche, because that's really what their thing is, it's very different than somebody who buys, say, from Best Buy. Because you might buy games from Best Buy because you're in Best Buy, but you might not go to Best Buy to buy games. You might go to Best Buy because I'm in there every now and again because I'm looking for a TV. It's much harder to drive the kind of regular loyalty in a place like Best Buy, because how often do you need a new TV? How often do you need a new radio for your car? How often do you need a new computer? How often do you need a new cell phone? How often do you need a new, you know, washer? You know what I'm saying? So, like, the people who are the loyal regulars in a place like a Best Buy, you know, they're the people who buy a new movie every week. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. They come in and get the new releases. So they're the kind of people who have potential to be, you know, the game people. But if Best Buy pisses you off somewhere else down the road because, I don't know, you didn't get the discount you were supposed to get when you use your credit card, or because when you went to use your protection plan, you know, I don't know, they wanted to repair it instead of just give you a new one, or whatever it is that made you decide, I'm not going there anymore. You're a lot less likely to have that kind of a thing happen, I guess, at a game. That kind of a thing that's just like, I'm done because I spent $1,000, you know what I mean, and didn't get what I wanted, versus it's $60. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's it. That makes a difference, where a person maybe doesn't think about, oh, well, I'll just go to Target and I'll just get it there. You know what I mean? And Target doesn't have a plan or whatever. Or maybe it's when I go into Target and I go to the electronics section, the person who's there either doesn't care about games, doesn't know anything about games, or there isn't anybody to help me find a game from behind the glass. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I mean, I do think GameStop is on their way out. I don't know how long it will take, but I don't think that practices like this will help them.
Not at all.
No, it won't.
So to speak. And I'm not sure what. I mean, would it bother either of you if GameStop closed in a week?
No.
I mean, I would never like to see anybody out of a job, but it's like if GameStop disappeared, it really wouldn't. No, it wouldn't affect me though.
Yeah, I don't think it would affect me. I mean, you know, Sin, I think you make a good point, right? Maybe it's my mailman doesn't come until 5. I want my game now, so that's why I go at midnight. But that's why we do digital, isn't it? Like I'm not waiting in line at midnight with a bunch of other people. I'm playing at
Oh
midnight.
no.
I'm not waiting at
Yep.
midnight. I'm playing at midnight. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, that to me is just another reason to go digital, if nothing else. At the same time, Amazon, if you have Prime, I mean, you get it next day. Game comes out, you'll have it that day, right? A lot of people still going to
Mhm.
work that day. You're not gonna get home until close to 5 anyway. You know what I'm saying, or
Mhm.
something like that. Like it's not that big a deal. But then the other thing is, you can go to Amazon and buy it digitally. I mean, that's how I got Final Fantasy 15. I did it
Same here.
digitally through
Yeah.
them
True.
because they had stuff you couldn't get if you got it anywhere else. And the thing that made me the most angry about that was that as a Prime member, I could buy the physical copy and get 20% off. But buying the digital copy, I had to pay the full price. That
Mm.
pissed me off. But it was kind of like, well, I was going to pay for the digital copy and pay full price for it anyway, and I would have just ordered it through my Xbox, but now I don't have to.
Right.
I'll just order it through Amazon. You know what I mean? And I get my extra stuff, get my little email, my little extra stuff, and it worked just fine. And I did it digitally, and I had it at midnight. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I
Mhm.
think maybe if other companies do a better job of finding ways to advertise that they do things like that and that they have things like that, that, like I've never seen an Amazon commercial that says, hey, if you, are a Prime member and you get a game from us within the first 2 weeks, if it's a new title, you get 20% off. Like I've never seen them advertise that. But let them put out a commercial tonight on the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl Sunday, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
you guys.
Mhm.
Let them put out a commercial today that says that and spend the millions of dollars it takes to get a commercial during the Super Bowl and the number of people who are going to see that and see how that shifts things. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely would be a shift. I agree with that.
Yeah, it definitely. I never really trusted the people at GameStop anyway. I mean, when they were Babbage's or Electronics Boutique, I had that, but not really ever since they've been GameStop. So, I don't know. I just want to get you guys 2 cents on that. I'm gonna let you go breathe,
Mm-hmm.
Sin. Take a
All right.
break.
Feel
Take a
better.
rest. Yeah, man.
I'm trying.
Um,
I'm trying.
NuJoker and I are going to finish this out so we can get back on this Ghost Recon, which we're gonna talk about in just a minute. So, y'all say bye to Sin. Bye, Sin. And we'll be back in just a moment. And we are back. Episode 53 of Snacking and Hanging, the Loading Snacks podcast. Sin is gone. NuJoker is still here. And we have some things to talk about, don't
Yes,
we, sir?
sir.
So here's what I want to do. How about we get into, it's been out longer, so let's get into the Injustice beta.
Cool, cool.
We talked about it a little bit before, but you were able to play the first weekend when it
Mm-hmm.
dropped, right? You got a code, were able to play. I just got a code going into the second weekend. So I have not played but so much. So talk to me, man, about what you're experiencing, what's new, what's different, what changed, all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So I mean, so far, just like I did before, I'm enjoying the beta. Um, Now, granted, it is a beta, but I'm still a little mad. So they decided to, I guess you could say, upgrade the beta. So when I went and logged on yesterday, everything reset. Like I lost all my gear that I picked up, and I was a little mad. But when I went to go start playing, I noticed they added Blue Beetle into the demo. So I was like, okay. I was like, get another character now, so I'll go ahead and try them out. I still like Supergirl. Out of the 5 characters that you can pick from right now, Supergirl by far is still my favorite. But I've noticed
Fair enough.
a few little changes from the first beta when it was out. So one, it looks like the way they do calculation for the damage is a little bit different, and I had to, I had to test that a little bit from me having your armor, because of course, if you when you pick up certain armor, whether it's your gauntlets, a cape, shin guard, depending on what it is you pick up, it alters your stats. So higher attack power, better defense, more health, more stamina. Um, and I've noticed that the damage itself isn't as great as what it was before. Now, of course, I've done it both ways, having my standard Supergirl and then having my souped up Supergirl. And I don't necessarily see much of a difference when it comes time to fighting an opponent. Now, as a setting, another thing you can test, I tested with it. You can, when you fight an opponent, you can turn off the stats. So if you don't want to let any of your armor have any effect, you just want to have a plain level fight with whoever it is you're going against, you can do that. But I still didn't see that much of a difference between the damage that was done. Because like with Supergirl, I've managed to come up with a string, like an actual fluid string of attacks that I can do that link right into your special. And I mean, it did some serious damage. I mean, it would do to the point where the opponent I was facing would lose anywhere between half a bar to, I would say, three-quarters of the bar just off this one combo setup.
Mm.
But now it's, I would say it gives you maybe half, if not a little bit less in comparison to what it was before. Um,
So the combo itself still works. Like, did you notice any like animation tweaks or timing tweaks, or you know what I mean? Like they don't normally remove
yeah.
moves, I guess, but
Um,
I guess they're just trying to they're dealing with balance
yeah.
things. So
But
was it just that Supergirl was OP,
nah,
and you know what I mean? Did they just nerf her, or does it seem to just be
no, it
across
seems
the
across
board?
the board. Because I mean, I will tell you this: if you pick any character and you practice and you learn their move sets, any character in this game can be a force to be reckoned with. Because I've
Of
played
course,
against other people that have used Supergirl that can use Supergirl better than I can. But I've
right?
played I played somebody that used Batman, and Batman was just being Batman. Like you can literally link up an attack that is just endless. Like
Hmm.
if you can get it right. Atrocitus, I, I hate him, honestly. I really do. At least fighting him, I hate him
Mm-hmm.
because he has this
Mm.
combo that you can do where it like he brings up like this lava out of the ground, and it pretty much it kind of suspends you in
Yeah.
air where you can't do anything, and then he'll just start
Mm.
chain attacking you. Like he'll punch you like 4 or 5 times, hit you one good time, you go flying, you bounce off the wall, you come back, and it's like rinse and repeat, and you can just keep doing it. And I
Uh,
will say that every
okay.
character, at least from seeing so far, has some form of that, but it's just a matter of you being able to develop it and being able to do it. Um,
Does that sound like the kind of thing to you that they will remove? You know what I mean? Something like that that's that rinse and repeat that is like once you get it started, there's no way to stop it from happening anymore. Seems like the kind of thing that they would like, oh, okay, look at this data. We gotta fix this.
I don't think necessarily they'll remove it. I mean, by all means, I don't think they should. I mean, if you have taken the time enough to build yourself this rhythm of how you can attack and do it, I mean, by all means, use it. But I think maybe there should be that break in there where maybe it's like you
Yeah,
just
that's what
kind
I'm
of have to
saying.
reset your character and then start doing it all over again. But
Right. It would require like just a slight change in animation timing or something like that. Like that's all they would have to do. Like they wouldn't necessarily have to take a full move
no,
out, but
definitely not. But like none of the it doesn't
you
look
know.
like none of the move sets have changed. That's all stayed the same. Some of the I've noticed like a few of the cinematics have changed. Nothing like actual fight scenes. So like say with Supergirl, after you win your fight, when you would have her after match scene, she would like do this little twirl in the air and then jump up like she's punching towards the sky. And they just
Right.
changed the camera angle of it, but
Okay.
nothing,
Same
just a
animation, just a
different
different
angle,
angle.
but nothing that impacted any of the actual gameplay itself.
Now let me ask you this: have you had what's the longest you've waited to get into a match? Have you had trouble with matchmaking at all? Because that was my issue. Like I got the beta the other day. I went to jump in, and granted, it was like 1 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
because it was the first opportunity I had. But I couldn't get in. I couldn't get into a match, and I tried again the following day. I tried again on Friday, while we were setting up to record the show for YouTube, and it just sat on the screen like it was trying to, you know what I mean, trying to connect. Like I've had trouble just trying to get connected to get into a multiplayer match, which for me personally, I'm not ever gonna do when when the game comes out anyway. Like
Right.
I'm gonna play through the story, and then I might jump online with people I know and play against them. But I'm not gonna just jump into like random multi. That's just not my thing. But have you? What's the longest you've waited? Have you had any
For
trouble
the
with that?
most part, I haven't had any issues with connecting. I think maybe once or twice it took a little bit longer than normal, but I did notice, and now this has happened a couple of times, where it almost seemed like there wasn't that many people online. So when it would link me or pair me up with somebody, it would be the
Mm-hmm.
same person that maybe I fought with maybe a match or two ago. And like, because of
Okay.
course they show your
Well,
gamer tag when it pops, just like
right.
how it was in MKX when you play somebody online. It shows their gamer tag and it'll show their win loss record on there. So, and I've seen a couple of them over and
Right.
over again, and that sometimes
Hmm.
can be a pain because like if I've won a match with versus someone a few times and they see my gamer tag pop up, they don't want to face me anymore. And for a little while, and it's sad, like, and I'm not like I don't want to, I'm not gloating or anything, but it got to the point where I had an issue connecting to people because they would like see my game tag. I would hit accept on my side, but they would hit decline on their side, and it actually says on the screen opponent declines.
Decline.
And
Hmm.
like, the only thing is, I still
I
can't
mean,
see. Like, I'll say I'm not bad. I'm pretty good at playing Injustice, and I would say my wins are definitely more than my losses. But I feel like when certain people see your stats and see that, they immediately just quit to try to get somebody that they don't think is as good. Now, I've played people that had 0 wins and 0 losses. I've played people that had 50 wins and 2 losses, or 50 wins and 50. Like, I've played a whole range of different people. But after a while, when they just look
right.
at your stats, like I played somebody that was like, they won like 60 matches and they lost 2 matches. But when I went to
Hmm.
accept the match, they actually declined it, which I was kind of like,
Hmm.
so either one, you're good in whatever reason, you're just quitting, or two, you're just trying to pair yourself with maybe somebody that's like 0 wins and 0 losses to kind of pat your stats and make them look really good.
I mean, that's possible. That's possible. I mean, I will say this. I know that I got my code and you have your code for Xbox, so I don't know if there's a difference in how what people are experiencing on the PlayStation side of things. Um, but most of the gameplay that I've seen online has been PlayStation. So, um, maybe things are a little bit different on that side. Maybe they didn't do the exact same tweaks. I don't know. Who knows? Because you're dealing with different servers, I guess. So that kind of changes things, and that's going to also have an effect on matchmaking. You know what I mean? So I was just wondering whether or not you were having issues with matchmaking because when I've watched streams or something like that, I don't really see it. But when I tried to get in, I just thought maybe obviously there are a lot more people who play on PlayStation than play on Xbox
Mm-hmm.
One. That's also part of why I put in for the one for Xbox. I just figured you got a higher chance of getting into the beta if you
Right.
do it for the Xbox because they need data and have fewer people who are trying to get onto that one. So, having said that, we also got our hands on the closed beta for Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. And let me tell you something. First of all, I have major issues with Ubisoft or Ubisoft, however you choose to say it, and the way that they deal with you inviting friends into this beta. Now, this is the second beta that I've been a part of. Well, actually, yes. The second beta I've been a part of recently. I was also a part of the alpha for For Honor. I was in the beta for Steep, the alpha for Steep. But with For Honor and with Wildlands, they tell you you can invite. I mean, they're co-op games. You can invite your friends. So if you get into the closed beta, you can invite 3 of your friends to participate in the beta as well, so that you can get in and play
Hmm.
co-op, which I think is awesome because that's what I want to do. I want to get in with my friends and I want to play. And look, let's just be honest. From Ubisoft's standpoint, from my standpoint, there is a much higher likelihood that you're going to sell more copies if I'm in the beta. Clearly, I'm interested in the game and want to purchase it if I haven't already. And if I can get 3 of my friends to jump in and play and we're having a great time, that's 3 more sales more than likely. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So it just makes sense. However, man, they make it difficult for you to get in. Everybody that I have talked to who is who has tried to invite someone or has been the person who was supposed to receive an invite has had so much trouble receiving an invite. And we just can't figure it out. So if you're aware, then maybe you can tell us. I sent an email to Ubisoft support, didn't hear anything back, even though they're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I do know that they had live chat that was available. I'm not gonna sit on live chat waiting for
Hmm.
that. I'm playing. I want the person who wants to get an invite to sit on live chat so they can try to get in, but I want to play with those people. Um, but it just seems like they make you jump through hoops. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you can invite a friend to be in, but that friend has to be a member of the Ubisoft club, and you have to know what their name is on the Ubisoft club, which could easily be different from their gamer tag or their PSN name. You have to send them an invite through the Ubisoft club, and then once you send it, I don't know what
Right.
happens. Supposedly, from what I can find in the forums, is they're supposed to get an email that goes to the email address they used when they signed up to be in the Ubisoft club. But nobody I've sent an invite to has been able to find an actual email from them saying, here's your code. And I have not been able to get a response from Ubisoft, having tweeted at them and having sent a direct email to them. I got nothing. So, boo on that. However, I know a lot of people. I got in on my own, and so did NuJoker. So there was me and him. Then we got a couple other people that are on our friends list who also were able to get in. So we got a squad. Not folks who I would say would normally be my squad, but we got a squad
Hmm.
nonetheless, and a good squad. It turns out. Um, what are your overall impressions of the game so far, Jokes?
I mean, so far,
Of the beta,
as right now, not bad. I'll say not bad. Um, Probably a few things that can be smoothed out, but um, as far as right now, I like it. I mean, nothing that
okay.
totally turns off me wanting to actually purchase the game. As of right now, I'm at a place where I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and grab it. I like the customization that you can do with your weapons. Um, I like more now. I guess one piece I'll kind of set the tone for it. So if you play like if you go online and play the beta by yourself, when you jump in, it's gonna be a party of 4 that you'll have, but it's gonna be 4 AI controlled partners that you're gonna have. If you Now you can choose to take in with you, of course, a friend, whoever's in with you. But if you take your friend in, you lose your other AI companions. So it'll only be the 2 of you that go into it. Um,
Correct.
Now who knows? That could just
I don't
I don't
really
like
like that.
that. Now, granted, maybe that's just something for the beta because they just want everybody to play with each other. I don't know, whatever. But um, because when you try to set up, like, say there's very tactical things that you can do inside of Wildlands, and I like that. So say if we go and we're scoping out a certain area, like we know there's enemies in the area, like we'll use our drones, we'll send our drones out, kind of scan the area, see how many enemies are there. um, Now when you do this with the AI control people, you can actually set it up. What was it actually called? I forgot what they called it. Sync
What, the
shot.
sync shot?
um, where you
Yeah.
can line up individuals. So, like, say if you have 3 enemies, and then there's you and your team of 3 AIs. You can set it up for the sync shot where they'll go around and they'll get their vantage points on them, and then you go and you'll hold. the A button, and they'll go ahead and take out those targets. Now, the only weird thing is, like, say if when you do it, you still have to shoot your own target where you're going to have to pull the trigger at the same time while you're holding down the A button for them to respond. Now, granted, it's not a hard thing to
Yeah.
do. It's not a hard thing to do, but it's a little awkward, I guess you could say. You would think when you're holding the A down, everybody's just going to line up and we're just going to take those shots and it's just going to do it itself. Now, maybe if the person moved and when you shot, it just went wherever, I can understand that. But the trigger and the A button at the same time, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a little strange. I think that it it lets you press the A button to tell your AI controlled partners, this is who I want you to shoot. I'm gonna, so you can take aim at someone else. And then you also seem to have to press and hold the button once they get to where they can line up a shot to take a shot, which is basically what they do when you say this is who I want, who I want you to shoot. And then it tells you they're ready. It gives you an option to engage them. And it seems that you have to hold the A button to tell them, yes, you actually do want them to go ahead and shoot, but then you also need to fire your trigger at the same time. I don't know. It's a little weird, but I don't probably plan on doing too much playing with the AI anyway.
Right.
I mostly intend to be in with other people. So on that note, let me just say this. This game is a tactical game. Ghost Recon has always been a tactical game. That has not changed. What has changed is rather than have what used to be in Ghost Recon was a story-based, you get to a map, complete that map, and move on to the next part of the story in the map. This is a completely open world where you can kind of just do whatever you want. There are places to go to get intel, areas you might just come across that are overrun with what they call Unidad soldiers, but then they also have the cartel who you're dealing with, and then there are rebels who you can get that side with you. It's really kind of a strong mix between the tactics that are common with Ghost Recon games, which are more or less headshots count as headshots, right? So I think there are a lot of people who looked at what this is and they think Division, and this is not the Division
Nowhere
at
close.
all. The Division seemed like it might be like this, but the Division is not. The Division is much more RPG based. You can shoot a dude in the face 10 or 15 times in the Division. He's just got a health bar that's going to go down as he's taking damage, and they might be more critical if you're hitting him in the head, but you're not just going to get a headshot and kill him. That's just not how it works in the Division. This game is not that way. There are role-playing elements in terms of building up a skill tree, and I like the way the skill tree is set up. And so basically it's like as you play and do things, you will increase certain skills. But you also can find just a skill point on the map. And so as you're playing, I'll give you an example. We're playing earlier. We come across this village, and we are attempting to... So when you hold the right bumper, or R1 if you're playing on PlayStation, you basically bring up a wheel. And at the top of the wheel, there are blue selections that are for what you want your squad mates to do. That's really more for when you're controlling the AI. At the bottom of the wheel, there are 5 or 6 options that are at the bottom, which are for rebels, which can help you. Now, the only way to get access to those when you start, those are locked. The only way to get access to those is to find them on the map. And then, well, I'll give you an example. This one was for getting a rebel mortar strike as an option to help you. And so we found a place. There's a radio that's on a truck. And basically, you walk over and you start the radio, and it begins to broadcast loudly, telling the people in the area to stop letting the cartel, do what they're doing and fight back and all that kind of stuff. And basically, this broadcast, there's a timer that comes up on screen. This broadcast lasts for like 1 minute and 30 seconds, and you have to defend the area from incoming cartel members while the broadcast lasts. And if you manage to survive it and they don't destroy the radio, then you now have the option to use mortar strikes that the rebels will send off when you're going to attack something else. So it's pretty cool. Okay? But we're doing that. And in this case, I had done it by myself at one point and passed it already, so I already had access to a mortar strike. I was trying to help the other two people we were playing with, NuJoker and who was playing with Reef. Old man Reef. Old man Reef, gray beard, get their mortar strikes. We lost. Some guys kind of came out of nowhere with a big truck with a lot of guns on it, and they blew up the radio, and we lost. However, when all this happened, there was a guy that showed up that had like an exclamation point over his head. And you will see these pop up on the map, and you can just go to them, and if it's a civilian, you can just ask them questions. And what it basically allows you to do is find points on the map that have like a weapons cache, so you can get new weapons. It could be parts for weapons, because just like the last Ghost Recon, where you could they had a gunsmith and you could change out all kinds of parts, add underbarrels, and change out the your scopes, and change out your barrel, and change out your triggers and all that kind of stuff. You can they can tell you where those kinds of things are, and you can go and infiltrate somewhere and get those, or they can tell you where maybe other rebel bases are, not rebel bases, but other quests where you can get more rebel attacks and things like that, or find skill points or whatever. And as you do those kinds of things, you also will find like barrels of oil, or you'll find a stash of like medicine cases or something like that, and you can basically mark them so the rebels can come and get them. And as you do those things, when you go to upgrade your character, it will require a certain number of skill points, but it will also require you to have a certain amount of gasoline that you have had the rebels come and get, or a certain amount of health kits that you have had the rebels come and get in order to upgrade. So the upgrade system is very interesting, and it kind of forces you to go into other areas of the map and look for things besides the things that are the story mission. And I really like that, because it gives you things to just go and do anywhere. And so whether you decide to basically hijack a chopper from a base, which we have done, and try to successfully land that, because somebody just told you, hey, there's weapon parts over here. So we fly over and we see, oh, okay, this is Unidad. These guys are purple. We know they have heavy, those guys tend to have a lot of armor. Headshots still count though. We do headshots, bruh. And I don't know. We're having a really good time. So it's this, the game itself is this weird kind of a cross between what Ghost Recon has always been, which is more tactical, kind of for those of you who have been, maybe you've been a PlayStation person for a long time, SOCOM-y, tactical. You want to talk to each other, call things out, let people know where things are, use your drone and kind of spot things ahead of time. It's a cross between that, the sync shots that have been known to be in Splinter Cell, and like the openness and movement of like Just Cause. In terms of like being able to just jump in a vehicle and drive somewhere, or get into a plane or a helicopter and go somewhere, and those kinds of things. So I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It also kind of reminds me, if you ever played the game Mercenaries. Mercenaries is a lot like that, where it could be a little tactical, but Mercenaries is more about explosions and all that kind of stuff, which there are explosions in this too. I'm having a good time, and I know that my playtime, I already pre-ordered. I'll put it to you that way. I already pre-ordered. NuJoker sounded like he was on the fence, but I think we got him. I think we got him. I would highly recommend, if they do a open beta, that you jump on and try it out. But I certainly recommend getting in with some friends and playing with them. So you can kind of do things the way you want to. And if you have one of those friends that's like a jerk, that likes to shoot things early, or doesn't like to play tactically or whatever, boot them and get somebody else. This is not the game you don't want to play with them. I'm just going to tell you that now. You don't want to play with them. No, you can't. Gung ho is not really the way to go in this. It takes a little patience. I will say that. But if you've been a fan of Ghost Recon, this is not so far removed from what you know of Ghost Recon. It just opens it up and gives you kind of free run to do what you want. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm super excited about that. And For Honor coming in a couple weeks. So, anything else, Jokes?
Nah, think that hit the nail on the head right there.
Cool. Then we're going to get ready to wrap this up. If you guys want to get a hold of myself or get a hold of NuJoker, you can find us on the socials. I'm at Empty Shells, MTSHELLZ. NuJoker is at NuJoker89, NuJoker89. Sin is Sincere619. And if you guys want to send an email to the podcast, you can certainly do that. Just shoot it over to loadingsnacks@gmail.com. If you want to get us individually, use our name, .loadingsnacks@gmail.com. So that's Gage, Gage, or NuJoker, NuJoker, .loadingsnacks at gmail.com. We would be happy to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show. If you could give us a thumbs up, a like, and a rating on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you happen to be listening to this, that is also greatly appreciated. Or if you happen to be one of the folks who listens to this on YouTube as we upload them to YouTube to kind of let YouTube play in the background while you're doing something like cleaning or something like that, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and to share with your friends. We greatly appreciate it. Chances are if you're doing that, then you are already subscribed to us there. But don't forget that if you're listening to this and you are not subscribed to us on YouTube, if you search for us on YouTube, just search Loading Snacks, you will find us. Certainly subscribe there so you can see kind of some of the antics that we get up to as we do things besides video games. We greatly appreciate it. With that, we're going to get out of here. Toodles and lube.